Hey everyone, thanks for the warm welcome and thank you for Media Post for having me here today. So we can go ahead and get the presentation started. So hello, I'm ugly. This is something that you don't see often, but we're really proud to present. And it's because of exactly how Lisa described us, right? Ugly to us means taking something that is perfectly great, that is being overlooked, and finding a new purpose for it. So we're proud to be the Ugly Company. And we'll start with telling you a little bit about our background story. Oh, I got a clicker, huh? I don't hope. Okay, so you can see here in a big part of our screen our founder, Ben Moore. Ben is from the Central Valley of California. He's a fourth-generation farmer. And growing up, he always was taught, don't just farm, do some things around farming as well. So when your crop doesn't go so great, you got some fallback business to go on. So one of the things he did was he got his Class A trucking license at a really young age and said, okay, a lot of the jobs that he had was taking the fruit that was being thrown out from the packing houses and taking it to open fields to be dumped. And so he would do some of these rides with his dad. Then eventually he started doing some of them himself. But then he went away to college, went to the Army, explored the world, kind of got a better sense of what the environment was like outside of Central Valley, California. And when he came back, he started thinking more deeply about the problem. He started doing some of the math behind it. Just from calculating what he was throwing out himself and then talking to packing houses and other truckers, et cetera, he realized that 2 to 4 million pounds of fruit was being thrown out per day during harvest season, which equates to more fruit being thrown out in Central Valley, California than is grown in the entire state of Georgia. So he realized the scale of this waste and said, I got to do something about it. So he started the Ugly Company. So you might be wondering exactly what ugly fruit is. I know we've kind of talked about it in a broad sense, but I thought it was really important to actually show video, or pictures, I should say, from my actual phone. I went to the packing house, and I think these are the best ways to actually see ugly fruit. I know it's kind of hard to probably see on this screen, but I find it really challenging to find the issues in some of these fruits, right? And there's a variety of reasons why fruit gets thrown out. It's not all just, some people think it's bruised fruit, right? Oh, you save bruised fruit. It's not really the case at all. Almost none of the fruit we save is bruised. A lot of it's just too big, too small. It has a cut or a scar on it. Maybe it's a little bit misshapen or blemished. Then there's also just market factors too. Sometimes it's overripe, so it's fine at that point. But we know, the 7 days it takes to get across the country, it won't be anymore, right? So that gets thrown out. Or just market demand, right? If the packing house has fulfilled all their orders for their customers, they have nothing to do with the fruit, they throw it out, right? And so our goal is to educate about this ugly fruit, change the perception about it, and show people that, hey, this is perfectly delicious fruit. We're not just saving fruit that was going bad, we're saving fruit that was being thrown out purely for the wrong reasons. So that's a little bit about our background. And I wanted to share with you all some of the things that have worked for us as we've kind of taken this brand into the market, gone to retailers, started to educate consumers about our brand. So first is we've taken really a new approach to an established category. So we're in the dried fruit category. And I put bags on all your tables. Please feel free to pop those open and take a try. I know this is probably a new brand to all of you, so I thought it would be helpful to have some samples on the tables. So as we've entered into the dried fruit category, a lot of what you've seen in the past is Sun-Maid, Sun-Sweet, some of these classic brands that have raisins, prunes, dates, right? What we've seen is the younger generation is looking for something different, right? Something that feels more modern, that they can relate to more, and that is fun, right? And so that's kind of what we have striven to do in this category. So we started with the catchy, fun name, right? We see a lot of consumers see our product, get a smirk, want to know more. Why is it called ugly, right? It helps us kind of seed our story. We also have colorful packaging, right? It stands out in the dried fruit section where there's a lot of kind of classic packaging in there, right? And one thing we're really proud of is our tie to sustainability and specifically how easy it is to understand for us. So on our new packaging, in our current packaging, you'll see it on the back, but we call out the amount of food waste prevented by every bag that we sell, right? So in the case of our sliced peaches on the screen here, it's 1.75 pounds of food waste prevented when we sell that bag, right? So it gives consumers a really easy to understand and tangible way to participate in sustainability in a world where there's a lot of confusing terms within sustainability, a lot of greenwashing happening, a lot of things that people struggle to understand. They want to be a part of it, but they don't quite understand it. We give them the easy to understand way to get involved. And then lastly, we have some unique fruits. So peaches, nectarines, kiwis, these aren't fruits that you've seen a lot in the dried fruit category. So we're really kind of carving a new path in the category with fruits that the younger generation is looking for. Another aspect of our brand that we found a lot of success with is transparency, right? So we're based in Farmersville, California, so about 45 minutes south of the Fresno area. I encourage you guys all to come. We'd love to host you guys and show you around. But one of the things that we're really proud of is if you were to come, we could show you from orchard to bagging of the product in one day. So we start in the orchards. All our farms are right in the area. We take you to the packing house where the fruit is being sorted. Here's our plant in Farmersville, California. So that's where we accept all the fruit, process it, turn it into dried fruit. And then what we don't have pictured is our co-packer, which is right down the road. Pack it up, and it's ready to go. So this is a huge trend, right? A lot of consumers are looking for brands that they feel they can trust, that they know where their food is coming from. And so we've really strove to create that for them. Secondly, we're a single ingredient product. It's literally just the fruit in the bag. So as consumers are looking for better for you snacks, fruit is a healthy, nutritious snack. We're not going to add anything to it. Why would we, right? It's delicious just on its own. And then consumers can see, hey, I know what I'm getting here. I don't have all these confusing to understand ingredients. And then lastly, our storytelling, right? We're authentic on who we are. We're proud of being from the Central Valley. And we tell that story wherever we can, right? And people appreciate our authenticity and want to be a part of the brand once they hear our story. The last thing that we've done that we've seen success with is leveraging our founder, who's a very charismatic and larger-than-life person. He's a 6'4" guy. His name's Big Ugly. So he really he has a big presence in rooms. So we try to look for ways to leverage his personality to get different interviews, PR opportunities. We also have a very famous investor. Justin Timberlake is an investor in our company. So when we did our press release, we said, okay, we got to work him into there, right? Make sure people know that he's an investor. And we did that recently. We just did our Series A funding close in the beginning of February, and we did a press release around it, included Justin Timberlake in that, and we got some really good results from it. So over 30 pieces of coverage. Again, from a startup standpoint, this is really impactful for us. 256 million unique viewers in a little over a month, 20% increase in unique website visits for us. So a lot of success that we got from just putting our name out there, talking about one of our accomplishments. We've got new opportunities coming for our founder to be on podcasts, be interviewed by different publications, so he can continue to tell the story, continue to show his personality, because we think that's such a huge driver of our brand. And then lastly, most importantly, it's the reason I'm here. I think without this press release, we wouldn't have been on Media Post's radar, and I wouldn't be here today. So I wouldn't get to enjoy this great experience with you all. So that's been another big success for us. And so what's the result been? Well, we've had some good successes. We are in over 1,000 stores currently. We're launching in all the West Coast Kroger banners starting in June. So we'll be up to about 1,700 stores. So slowly starting to build our distribution footprint. I think the name of the game for us is how do we drive velocity once we're in the store, right? Just like a lot of us are focused on. So I think the one thing I wanted to call out here too is imperfect foods. People that are new to our brand think that they are a competitor of ours or that we are them. So just want to clarify that they are actually one of our biggest customers. So you can add our product to the box that then gets sent to you if you are an imperfect or a misfits market consumer. So they're a great partner, and we're really excited to work with them. Okay, so kind of giving you some of the background of who we are and some of the things that have worked for us along the way. So what's next for us, right? And before I get fully into that, I did want to start with who our consumer is. So I know there's a lot of stuff on this screen. I won't go through it all. One thing I do find funny is that our consumer is characterized from Denver, Colorado. So all the Colorado conversation. Hopefully this is a person you can relate to or reminds you of somebody you know, all you Denver folks. So this is a younger millennial female, somebody who might have kids, doesn't have to have kids necessarily, somebody who's higher educated, has some discretionary income to spend. We're a little bit more on the premium price point, right? But somebody who really cares about sustainability, cares about the environment, wants to do good for the world, wants to be healthy herself, and does things like has a Peloton, right? Goes to bar classes on the weekends, kind of lives an outdoor lifestyle, things of that nature, right? And I think from an occasion standpoint, what we really zero in on too is that afternoon snack, on the go occasion. and then kind of a flavor adder to your breakfast, right? So whether it be yogurts, oatmeals, et cetera. So with that, I wanted to, and Elisa teed this up well, this is really meant to be, we haven't done any marketing, right? We just closed our Series A funding. We're just embarking on this journey. So as I thought about, what to talk about here today, I said, well, why don't I kind of outline what we're looking to do, what my early thoughts on what to do are, and would love to just start a conversation with you all on what you think I'm missing, what you would do. I think it's a fun exercise for marketers with big budgets, too, to say, if I was starting from scratch, no prior year marketing, and I had X amount of dollars, what would I do with it, right? And that's essentially the position I'm in right now, which is kind of a fun position. It's also a nerve-wracking position because, obviously we don't have endless money to spend, and we need this to be successful for us. So, but hoping you can all indulge me in a little bit of a back and forth on what Ugly's direction should be. So with that, I'll start with some parameters on what we're kind of looking at from a strategic standpoint. We want to be the #1 upcycled dried fruit brand. And our goal is to build awareness of our brand and our story, and to be one of the first brands people think of when they think of ugly fruit, right? Not to be confused with Imperfect Foods or Misfits Markets, but to be like, yes, I know the Ugly Company. So that's our big goal coming with our marketing direction. Let's just call it $500K in budget. And our targeting is that consumer we talked about, along with California, Pacific Northwest. We're still concentrated on the West Coast, so thinking more targeted, obviously with lesser budget. We know we're not going to be able to have a national reach, so keeping that in mind, and we'd like to launch this in the fall of 2023. So with that, here are some of the things that I'm thinking about, right? And a big part of what the emphasis for me is how do we get an outsized impact with little dollars, right? So with $500K, we're not going to be able to do a major media push, right? We're just not going to have the reach or frequency to be able to do that. We could probably do it in somewhat of a local market, but I think what I'm kind of looking at is what can we spend on that can then turn into a big impact, right? So earned media is something that comes to mind, right? Doing PR stunts, there's a lot of fun that we can have with our brand name and our story. I'm circling around some ideas on this, but something that can create some buzz, bring some awareness to the problem of food waste, and then by extension, bring some awareness to our brand. There's a lot of unique sampling events that we can do too, kind of fun things with the Ugly Company that we can action on. Social media, right? There's a lot of influencers in our space of that millennial female. We think there's some great influencers that we can tap into that can help spread our message. UGC, a lot of people post about us already because it's just like we talked about, a kind of a catchy name that people get a kick out of. So, just directing more UGC and kind of, fostering that within the community is something we're looking at. Emphasizing our founder is another thing I talked about a little bit, but having a video series, kind of bringing his personality to the forefront. And then lastly, out of home. So Ann talked about this yesterday. It really, really resonated with me on the moment of receptivity. And we want to catch consumers while they're out, and we are an impulse snack, right? So what are some creative ways between billboards and murals, things that we can, the thought is creating a connection to our brand by saying, this is something that was considered ugly, now we've restored it to be beautiful. That's what we do with the Ugly Company. That's what we've done here in this neighborhood of LA, whatever that may be. So with that, I'd love to open it up to the crowd here to help kind of think through what you would do. Have some prompting questions here as well. So what are your thoughts on kind of where I'm headed? What would you do if you were in this situation? Limited budget. And then what are some, maybe media channels that you find with a lower budget can actually have a really good impact? So.
Yes, hi, April Carlisle with Spark Foundry. I have a quick question before I give you a couple of ideas. So is That's It product, would you consider that competition?
I would, yeah. I think when we've talked about competition, we have our kind of direct category competitors. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with Rind at all. It's a similar upcycled fruit brand to ours. Dried fruit is kind of a bigger competitive set. I know I talked about that with the category, but we really believe we're kind of competing against all healthy snacks, right? When somebody's in that 2 p.m. occasion moment, they need a spike of energy.
Yeah.
They're not thinking about which dried fruit they want. They're thinking about, do I want some popcorn? Do I want sugarless chocolate? Do I want a That's It bar, right? So I wouldn't call it a direct competitor, but it's definitely in our consideration set.
Okay, so a couple ideas for you. The first one is when you have a smaller budget, partner with somebody who has a bigger budget. So I think a perfect partner to you would be the Honest Tea Company. so owned by Coca-Cola, and they're always looking for that opportunity to talk about the afternoon snacking occasion. Of course, they have the Honest Kids pouches. They have a beautiful origin story, and so I think the two of you would be better together in terms of winning that mom. And they might, your story might actually help them with their story as well in terms of bringing the two together. And then the only other thing I would recommend is, I think, social commerce. So if you're going to do anything in social, make sure you have an add to cart partner like a Micmac or a Smart Commerce. And many of those, you can just kind of pay as you go. You don't necessarily have to do a full subscription. So any piece of media you're putting out there, make sure it's shoppable.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I love the idea with honesty. Anything we can find complementary, matches our brand values, as well as not a direct competitor. It would be, you need something to wash down the dried fruit with, right? So, love the idea. Thank you.
How you doing, handsome?
I'm doing well. How are you?
So, a couple of things that stood out for me. Thanks, you guys like that. I'm on your TikTok page right now, and just from the sample thumbs that I'm looking at, one that includes your founder, you have only 288 followers on TikTok. And then if I click over to Instagram, you have 6,291 followers on Instagram. So I think there's a significant opportunity right there. I would, if I was in your position, I would start organically and look to drive additional followers within TikTok. You do that just by continuing to create awesome content and putting out videos, and one will hook and go viral, and the rest is history. From there, you can identify some of the more affluent TikTok influencers, especially within the food categories, and then partner with them. I feel like if any one of them would hear your story, they'd be very eager to partner with you. So I think this is a massive opportunity. There's only upside here. And then the other thing, when it comes to paid media, don't limit yourself to Northern California on a $500,000 budget. You'll be surprised how much geography you're going to be able to cover on a $500,000 budget. Pick a partner that can maximize that budget for you, and do it in a way where you're focused on driving performance with that budget. I think right now, along the way, the brand equity will come, and I think can continue to do everything that you're doing right now in terms of PR and earned media and leveraging Justin Timberlake, and then everything that I had described around social media. That would be your pillar for brand equity. But if you have a $500,000 budget, I would use that in the most productive way possible and drive as much incremental sales across all of the regions that you're in. So make it a point to also expand across the United States. So yeah, 500,000 can go a long way. And I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself. By the way, I'm Nick Chitani. I'm with Adherent. So yeah, that's my spiel.
Yep. Well, thanks, Nick. And yeah, I'm well aware of our very low Instagram and TikTok following. We actually made a conscious decision to de-emphasize it for a time being. We only have 6 people, right? And I felt like we were spending a lot of time on it. And in my past experience, I really haven't seen organic social really pull its weight to equate the amount of time we had to put to it, right? So it was like, until we get some money, we could put some paid media behind it, we kind of de-emphasized it. But you're right, I mean, there's a huge opportunity there. We've had some major celebrities tag us in posts on there. We'll repost it, but we haven't really taken that and run with it. So we're hoping to do that, moving forward, right? So.
I think you have a because you have a really, oh, sorry, Keith Bendy's from Linkia. I think you have a tight geo market and actually a pretty tight demo target, so it's kind of nice to be in that position because you could be a little more targeted in everything you do. For your market, I think I'd be at every farmer's market across the West Coast. That's pretty much where your target market is every Sunday morning. So I think I'd have a pop-up booth at all the farmers markets across the West Coast. I think influencers is a no-brainer. JT, depends how much you could get out of him. I don't know what this is for him, but if you could Ryan Reynolds, Justin Timberlake on all your marketing, I think it will go a long way. So I think those are your key levers. From the founder story, I think definitely all the PR stuff you have is really, really good. I'd be a little careful. We've done a lot on founder stories with brands, and I think you hit a point where it's the person thinks it's a better story than it is for actual scale. So I'd be a little bit careful on how much you do put a focus on an individual. But I would definitely, physical I think is big. It's so hard to do physical when you're trying to scale nationally, but because you have such a tight market, I do think pop-ups with that and that stuff would work really well.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, we've actually talked about doing, because we're opening in the Kroger banners in the West Coast in June. So, going into the Pacific Northwest in a bigger way than we have. So the thought was, hey, maybe we seed some business, go to farmers markets ahead of our launch, kind of introduce ourselves to people. And then, once we hit stores, we have a little bit, it would take some time, right? But start to build some notoriety through farmers markets. But yeah, no, I love it. I think we need to get more involved in those because, like you said, it's expensive and sometimes it's a little bit difficult to navigate, but it seems perfect for our story, right? We're working on that. It's funny. It's like one of these startup things, right? Where like, basically we have this Series A funding, right? We have a set amount of cash that we need to become profitable sooner than later, right? Our horizon's 5 years. So I need to create some KPIs essentially for myself to say, with this amount of money, what should we be delivering? Right? We have sales targets that we need to be hitting and things like that. But there's work to be done there to make sure that we're properly setting the right KPIs.
Okay, so we have time for I saw 2 people over there, and then you'll have to get together afterwards. Okay.
Hey, Anne from DensoX. So the first thing that I thought of for you was finding a really strong audio partner that can do hyper-targeting for you, specifically because you have an interest in PR. Audio partnerships are a great way to get earned that isn't earned. You're paying for it that then sounds like earned and drives earned. So I've been talking to a lot of audio partners actually right now about doing a campaign with them, and through the ability that they have to find your target both in a local way across the country with terrestrial, but then using streaming and podcasting as a way to build up specifically for the audience you're looking for, who is more likely to consume podcast. You can specifically choose what kind of podcast you're in and what kind of message you want to lean into, whether it's the sustainability, whether it's the founder story. Then you kind of can have personalization across how you're using the platform. Plus, it's oftentimes, as I mentioned yesterday, consumed, or 2 days ago, outside, on the go, in the car, which then, as they're going to do their grocery trips, that's the last thing that they've heard is your brand, and now it's top of mind. The other thing that I would suggest is that you look into some media partners that can do out-of-home sampling in interesting locations like Airbnbs. Again, the target that you're looking for is probably a heavier traveler, doing family outings, and then you're getting the product in their hand in a usage occasion that would be relevant to them. You'll want to actually target people who are more likely to be influencers themselves for their local communities, their smaller circle of friends. So when you're building an audience strategy, make sure that that's also part of the targeting, not just that's the person that you chose, but that they're also the people that people turn to for advice. Then they're more likely to actually become micro influencers for you in their local communities.
Yeah, I love it. Great
Okay,
ideas.
great.
We've thought a little bit about podcasting, and I think this is definitely something that we're interested in. And I love the tie-in with the out-of-home, and people are on the go, and that's where our products are being consumed a lot. So, yeah, love it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Randy Greenberg. I'm with a company called Hypespace. We're a challenge app. I would play off the Justin Timberlake thing a little bit. There's a rumor that he's going to wind up touring towards the fall and into the winter. If you could have a booth or booths at every single concert, right, where his face is displayed of some sort, right, and there's some sort of component to that links you, I would look at that. The interesting thing you talked about is that your typical consumer is in Denver, and yet you're focusing in the Pacific Northwest or in California. If I wonder if there's more of a play in the mountain states where it's again playing to that moms with kids, and there's more of an effectiveness to drive I'm not sure the wording I'm looking for, but some early awareness that comes out of that then you wind up pushing into the Pacific Northwest and into California. I think the influencer thing with moms and kids, not just, but the tandem would be good. And I'd look at, to play on the packaging, I think if you had a mascot, like ugly fruit characters, might help drive the kids to drive the parents to get it and go both ways. It would also give you a piece of IP that you could use in multiple directions. And all of that is relatively inexpensive, and you're not buying a ton of media from it.
Yeah, I think with going into these Kroger West Coast banners, we're gonna be in King Soopers and in the Colorado, Denver area. We're gonna be in Fred Meyer and QFC in Pacific Northwest. So I think we're really using that because we want a competition with them, go fresh and local, that allows us kind of take a more of a partnership approach with them. And so we told them, hey, we want to test on the West Coast, figure out, what's our right in-store mix, like how do we drive velocity the best. And I think we'll also be able to tie into their data to see, hey, are we doing better in King Soopers because it is in Denver and that's where we think our target is, and it's an outdoorsy place, but so is Pacific Northwest, right? So I think it'd be interesting to see exactly what's popping to the top for that. And we actually have explored like doing little characters on our bag. We think that's kind of the next step because we were really conscious of not becoming a kid brand. We wanted to be, we think there's, an intellectual gear of this, of like what the sustainability means and what the food waste prevention, and is somebody who really cares about that, they make that connection to it. And oftentimes they share it with their kids because they love the brand, they love the product, and they realize it's healthy and it's great for kids, right? So I think down the road, as we explore a kids line, I think that would be an awesome idea. I think we were just a little bit worried of like, let's not become a kids brand right off the bat. And then it's hard to back out of becoming a kids brand.
Okay, well, Matt, thank you so much. That was a master class in startup here. So